아가씨,
아저씨 이게 뭐야? Hello everybody, Akashi here. So, Angel's Last Mission Love has finally come to an end with a total of 32 episodes. And I've watched it all and I reviewed with you guys the first 4 episodes. So I'm going to be continuing on here, recapping from episode 5 all the way till the end with you guys. A little bit in advance if I do blabber on too long. Just wanted to give you guys every little detail there is of the last remaining episodes of it and give you guys my thoughts on what I think of the drama. So I'm going to be starting here with episode 5 and going on to the end, so let's go ahead and get started. So I left you guys off on episode 4 and I'm gonna go pick up from there until the end. So remember at the end of episode 4, Lee Young-seo, she walks into her living room and the chandelier falls on her and Kim Dan rescues her and his wings is spread wide open and it stops the chandelier from falling on her. Well, we continue this with him carrying her to the sofa and he's stepping on the shattered glass and like we see his feet bleeding. And then Yeon-seo is like staring at his angel wings, questioning and all this stuff like that. But like, well, she hasn't questioned it much, but as he's like about to explain to her about it, she just thinks that he's a pervert and tells him to take it off, that he needs to stop fooling around and playing around. And it's hilarious because she doesn't believe he's an angel. You guys have to remember, Yeon-seo is at a very vulnerable stage where she doesn't believe anything. She doesn't want to do anything with her life because she lost her parents, she lost Mr. Joe, and her aunt is challenging her and all sorts of things. So, you know, Kim Dan just gives her the vibe that it's similar to Mr. Joe, so then and it helps her walk, so that's the only reason why she's having him with her. So you know, we get to see, you know, after like trying to escape from her and going away, Dan ends up in his room and his wing disappears as the rain stops raining, you know. And then we get to see his feet, all the scars disappear immediately. And then like, you know, we find out that his sunbae who tells him that the only reason his wings popped out is it is probably something related to Yeon-seo when it rains. So it's Yeon-seo with the rain and, you know, all these stuff like that. That's why his wings pops out. And then we get Ji Kang-wook again coming into the scene, begging for Yeon-seo to come back to Fantasia to do ballet again, and he's willingly to help her start all over again, and so that she can shine again. And she's contemplating, but what is it? She's like contemplating, and then he tells her that something reminds her that the night that she was in the accident, it was him helping her. So she you know, she took it as that he was really nice to her and like he was the one that helped her, calling ambulance, took her to the hospital and everything like that. So she was kind of like, you know, let me think about it whether I want to go back or not. And then we get Kim Dan seeing that, witnessing that Ji Kang-woo was really nice to Lee Young-seo and he understands what Sunbae Ho was telling him. So his sunbae was telling him that in order to find her rib, Yeon-seo's rib, her other half, is he has to really see it, who connects with her and who understands her and all this stuff like that. And then so Dan is taking it that it is Ji Kang-wook and Yeon-seo that are meant to be together. They are destined to be together. So he has to help Yeon-seo fall in love with Ji Kang-wook. And then we get more of the aunt behind more stuff. She has people working as securities and servants at Yeon-seo's house, and they purposely do stuff to scare her, to make her, you know, more traumatized so that she cannot walk. Because remember, she's traumatized and she's in that state where she's going into cardiac arrest or panic arrest and stuff like that, where she can't do certain things because she lost so many people in her life, and seeing the place they used to live together and all this stuff like that, it puts her body in shock. That's why she can't walk, she can't do anything. And so the aunt begins to do stuff like that, and then she sends people to watch over her to get information back to the aunt. The aunt was able to get into Yeonso's house to gather up, to pretty much steal the documents that Mr. Joe was gathering on an investigation before he died, and tons of other things. And like she's doing tons of stuff, and the uncle found out about it, and the uncle was telling her to stop it, and now the uncle is thinking that, like, the aunt is actually the one behind Yeonso's car accident, behind Yeonso's previous surgery, why she couldn't get it. And like she even went, like, the aunt even had the gut to go back to Yeonso's house and steal documents. So the uncle isn't liking any of this, And then eventually Mrs. Jung, who is the only one left working with Yeonso, she finds out that the aunt has been sending people as spy to work for Yeonso to get information back. Therefore, she starts doing her own investigation of pretty much carrying on what Mr. Joe was doing before he died. So with the aunt knowing that Mr. Joe was doing this before, the aunt pretty much don't want Yeonso to come back, because if she comes back, she takes over Fantasia. That's it for them, because she is the rightful owner of the company, the ballet theater. So the aunt decides to kick her out, take all her shareholders, so that she has nothing left. Because it's pointless now, because Yeonso can't even walk, and it's pointless. She's never gonna be able to come back. And like the aunt's pretty much pointing that, what's the whole point? My family runs everything for you, so you might as well give it up. You're never gonna be able to get anything, because look at your state right now. So she can't let that happen. And by this time she already kicked Dan out of her house, and so she needs to go back to Fantasia, start dancing again, ballet and everything, so she can take over what is once hers. Pretty much it's hers, it's just them running it. So she goes and asks Dan to come back, and this is when she will hold back on her angers and everything, her selfish and spoiled brat and everything like that against him and all this stuff like that. So he comes back, Dan comes back, and he believes that her destiny is Ji Kang-woo. So he needs to set them up to be together. So he helps Yeonso walks first, and it's so cute. He puts like little step foot outside, and she has to step on it. He slowly creates his own techniques for her to walk again and again, and then she was able to go back to Fantasia and now dancing again, and she's going to come back as the rightful owner, the original owner, to take her company back. And so and then, like, she's so excited now because she has like she has the guts now to go up against her aunt's family, to go up against the other shareholder, that she is going to be performing again and making them love her dancing again, and continue to invest in her company and let her keep her company and everything like that. Because pretty much her aunt and them has been spreading for information that she's kind of like not in a good state, so she needs to be let go, vote her out so that the aunt and them can get the company. So and we get a little backstory on Ji Kang-woo of why, like, he kept pushing Yeonso so hard to dance again. And we get this at the end of episode 8, and the reason is he is doing this is because he once had a loved one who looked exactly like Yeonso, and she was a ballerina and she died. So you guys remember the ring he has on his pinky? It was hers. And we finally get to see that Ji Kang-woo is a fallen angel. He has wings too. So it's like big shocking news. You're like, oh my god, it's not only Dan who is an angel. Ji Kang-woo is also an angel. But we don't know much about his backstory just yet. We'll get into it later. More so it gets explained to us later. So from episode 9 to episode 12 there, Yeonso and Dan starts to develop feelings for each other, and after like the accidental accidental kiss they had with Yoso promised to complete 3 wishes for Dan, and she thought one of them was to a kiss on the cheek for him, and which they end up kissing, feeling awkward for each other afterwards. And then all these stuff happens, and Dan is once reminded again what his duties are, and he's not allowed to fall in love with Yongseo. So he's being reminded again of that, and then he accepts that nothing can happen between the two of them. But like, he doesn't understand why his heart is having feelings and he's falling for Yongseo with, and it hurts him to be the one who cannot fall in love with her, So at this point, he's starting to slowly fall in love with her, questioning what love is, questioning these feelings he has, questioning why it hurts when he can't have her and stuff like that. So that is his story. And then we finally jump into Ji Kang-wook's introduction of his story and his past. So he's now a fallen angel. He's once have a loved one. Her name is Choi So-hee, and he was a dispatch angel like Dan. Dan was a dispatch angel for animals. Ji Kang-wook was in charge of arts. He has to help artists be inspired to continue to love art again. But he grew tired of helping artists, and then he fell in love with a human, and he gave up his position, and he was going to marry Choi So-hee, and that's why he has a ring, she has a ring too. It's both their wedding rings, pretty much wedding band. And so we don't know what happened, but we witnessed seeing that she was killed in front of him. So we have no idea what happened. And this incident happened like 15 years ago. So you kind of get the idea that like Ji Kang-wook, he's human/immortal, so he can't die, but he doesn't age, and he's just living as a human when he can't die. So it's like human, immortal, stuff like that. So somebody who was telling us this story, and he doesn't tell Dan pretty much the whole truth of this story, that the angel who turned against the deity, they cause this sin. When they turn against the deity, it becomes a sin. And he just keeps telling Dan that, like, you will turn into smoke and dust if you turn your back on it, because it's a sin. But he doesn't tell him exactly what happened to Ji Kang-wook. Like, we know that Ji Kang-wook is suffering somehow, but we don't know his whole story yet, because somebody who refused to tell Kim Dan about it, because he's pretty much protecting Kim Dan from doing anything stupid like that. And then, just when he's like preventing Dan from, knowing the truth is actually being told to us in like from episode 9 to episode 12 here. So the truth is what happened that night, the night that Ji Kang-wook proposed and he disobeyed the deity. After his proposal, 2 angels appears in front of him, and Choi So-hee, one is dressed in black and the other dress is in white, and she can't see them, only he can. So she's kind of like confused. But at the same time, we get an idea she knows about him, that he's an angel and everything like that. And so he has a few words with them, exchange some words, and they are going to kill him. And as the shots fires, she runs, like she doesn't see it, but she thinks something is happening because he's kneeling on the ground. She runs in front of him, blocks it, and she gets shot instead, and she dies. This is when we finally see his handkerchief that is similar to Kim Dan's. His handkerchief, the blue feather turns black, and then from there on, like, he was heartbroken, he was sad, and he tried to kill himself because his loved one is already dead, but it doesn't work. And he ended up living 15 miserable years of like constantly trying to kill him, but he's not dying because up there is not letting him die, until he was finally able to meet Lee Young-seo, pretty much heard about her, and he knows about her. Therefore he goes, she's finally come back, so this is my chance to go meet her again and get her to fall in love with me, get her to fall in love with Ballerina again, and get her to be exactly like who Choi So-hee used to be for him. So now back to Youngso and her dancing. She gives herself a week to prepare her body for her comeback. So she has to prove to everyone that she is fine and can take everything back, Fantasia back to her. So with this challenge that she gives out for herself, she ends up hurting herself, and Dan takes care of her, and then but he has to keep holding his feelings back for her. So he just pretty much protects her. And then we jump into the Ant and Luna being deep of they are just doing whatever it takes to kick out Youngso because she's coming back. So they do everything to destroy her. So there was a night of the private a party, welcome party back for Youngso, and the Ant and Luna the Ant put medication in Youngso's wine, but Dan caught it ahead of time and he tipped over the wine, so she didn't drink it. And then because remember Mrs. Jung was doing her investigation on the side, so she already told Dan to pay attention to our agashi, something's gonna happen to her because her family is mean to her, and so Dan went with her and he's keeping an eye on her and everything like that. And then the Ant put something in the wine, but Yoso didn't drink it, and then something else came up, which is Yoso. So she had an earring on that was given to her by Luna, and that earring has something in there where it pretty much put high pitches and stuff like that in there, and it caused her to act weird and be different in front of people, therefore proving what the Ant and Luna has been stating, that Yoso is not in a mental state, so she's not in a stable state. So this accident causes a lot of the shareholder not wanting her back to Fantasia. And after this accident, the Ant goes and visits Yoso and tells her that just give me Fantasia and no one wants you back because you have the mental institution, or you need to go to the mental institution because your mental is not stable. And this upsets Dan so much, and because he knows that the Ant and Luna is up to something, so he ends up yelling at the Ant, which in the beginning he yelled at Youngso for not being nice to her own family, and he's finally seeing why Youngso is not nice to her other family is because they treat her like that. And so Dan yells at them and tells them that the Ant needs to see that they need to stop doing this thing when Yoso is their only family left, and how can they do such things like this to her and all this stuff like that. So the Ant leaves, and Yoso sees that Dan really cares for her, and she's just really upset because she wants to go back to dancing and everything, but nobody wants her, so she ends up going to get drunk, and Dan follows her, and she ends up with telling him out of frustration that why doesn't he like her back, she doesn't care if the world hates her, as long as he likes her she is happy. And that ends it for us for episode 12. And then we jump into, you remember those little flurry memories that Dan keeps getting? We get another memory of the little boy and the little girl again. This time she is dancing for him ballet in front of him. But here's the thing, the little boy has he looks all beat up and everything. And then we get another one with the little boy hanging on cliff rocks, and he's about to fall in the sea. So we keep seeing Dan gets these memories, which we have no idea what they are. So episode 13 to 16 there, Dan feels really sad because he can't tell Youngso that he likes her because he's not allowed to. He's having some difficulties with her and in his thoughts, and somebody whose words keeps repeating to him too that he's not allowed to love a human. And then so he doesn't understand humans' feelings, and he doesn't understand why his heart hurts of why he can't love Youngso. You guys have to remember, Dan is an angel, and we don't know his past yet, how he became an angel, and he was an angel of animals, so he doesn't understand much about human beings. And now being given the mission of 100 days to help Youngso fall in love, so that and once he does that, completes this mission, he can go to paradise. Well, he doesn't understand humans, so it questions him a lot, And so with him being questioning himself a lot, he stands over this bridge, and Ji-Kung just pops out of nowhere and fights with him, and they both fall into the water. When they both fall into the water, Dan's memories comes back to him as a child hanging on the rocks on the cliff. and he wakes up and the medics and ambulance is there already, and he tells them that there's another person in the water, and they go searching for it, but he sees from afar that Ji Kang-wook is fine. So Dan ends up at the hospital, and he doesn't know yet about Ji Kang-wook, who Ji Kang-wook is, and at the same time Ji Kang-wook is trying to figure out who Dan is too, because Dan got injured, and all of a sudden he's healing really quick, and Dan's trying to cover that up. So these two guys, they go into more talking again, and Dan admits his feelings to Ji Kang-wook that he does like Young-so, and he will not leave her until she finds happiness. So he will continue, but he needs Ji Kang-wook to help Dan at the same time, to help make Young-so happy. And the day she is happy, that is the day where Dan will leave. But if she is not happy, he cannot leave. So it gets Ji Kang-wook to kind of wonder, okay, he's probably an angel, but what is he? Pretty much, what type of angel or what mission is he supposed to have? Why does it involve her? So back to Young-so, because of the aunt creating a big fuss about her mental state and everything like that, she takes on the challenge with her aunt and the sponsor of Fantasia, that she will make it worth their money to watch the show. So if they find it that the show that she's going to perform, it's not good enough, she will leave, and leave for good, and everything will be her aunt. So she started working really hard. So at this point, Ji Kang-wook had already changed the dance of the Swan Princess or Swan Lake into Giselle. So Young-so starts working hard, practice hard to make her comeback. She starts working with her team of dancers and make the decision that they will all audition to be the main ballet dancer. And if she doesn't get to do it, others can do it too. She's fine with it. So she starts giving them opportunities that before she used to be selfish. She's not going to be like that anymore, and she's going to give them chances and stuff like that. And then meanwhile, stupid Nina hating that Young-so is like that, and everybody gives everything to Young-so. Young-so is so much better than her that she seeks out their old ballet teacher Elena, who uses to teach both of them when they were little kids. And the aunt didn't like Elena because Elena was teaching them really bad habits, pretty much getting them into playing certain characters, and it was really bad for them when they were children. So that's why the aunt kicked Elena out from being the ballet teacher. Well, Nina seeked out for her again, and she tells Nina that in order to beat out this woman, you gotta be like her. She was once blind and she came back. You have to be playing stuff that she went through. So pretty much Elena is teaching Nina bad stuff, and Nina is being stupid, and she's willing to do it because she will not lose to Young-so. And then we get another flurry memory of Dan again seeing the little boy and the little girl. The little girl saves the little boy from falling, and she tells him her name, and the little girl says, "My name is Lee Young-so." And then right before the little boy says what his name is, Dan wakes up from it. So, be seeing these memories so much, Dan goes to see somebody who asking if a human can become an angel. Somebody who ends up showing him what it's like for an angel to love a human and give up his mission. So there's an old couple at the home care that Fantasia was doing charity work for. Young-so and Dan has been watching them and helping them and everything. So they've somebody who shows Dan that this Haraboji is an angel. He's Angel Noel or something like that, and he was given missions and he didn't do it. He fell in love with the human. The human he fell in love with was this blind Harmony, and therefore he was punished and vanished into dust and smoke right in front of Dan, and his handkerchief turned black too. So Dan witnessed what it would be like to follow the human. So with Dan seeing the Haraboji being vanished and everything, he felt like when he saw this, he saw that it was Young-so, the one who was crying, holding onto the handkerchief, and that he had disappeared. So it hurt him that he can never fall in love with her because he's going to make her suffer if he vanishes and he disappears. Therefore, he makes a decision to pretty much quit his job working for Yongso and stay away from her, and he left. So at this point, Yongso has already started falling in love with him, and like, you know, we get Yongso already, like, she has dreamed of living happily ever after with Dan, and they get married and they grow old together. Well, you know, her falling in love with him, and he tells her that he doesn't want to be with her anymore. She can't let him go, and she tells him that she heard him the night she was drunk. She tells him why can't he likes her, like, you know, who cares if nobody likes her as long as he like her. And he tells, just when he thinks she was drunk, she wasn't, she actually hurt him, and he tells her that he likes her, but he cannot express his feelings and have them be together. So he ends up leaving, and she was just like, fine, let him go, who cares, you know, I don't need him anymore. So Dan leaves, and so Dan is like, you know, he leaves and he is hiding out, and he ends up at the home care again to take care of the 할머니, and he finds out that the 할머니 knew all along that the 할아버지 was an angel, and he learned something from her, that like she missed him, but you know, she knows that, you know, the 할아버지 was a kind man, kind heart person to stay and take care of her every day, you know, lying that he was her husband, everything, just to make her happy. And it was their destiny to meet and to be together. And she's not afraid of the fact that he's not human. She was grateful to have him. So, you know, it was kind of like a little something to teach Dan that, like, you know, he shouldn't be afraid to tell people his identity and stuff like that. So after that, he decides to go find his memories and find out who he is and why he was sent to give pretty much to Yongso and given the mission to make Yongso fall in love again. And he continues on this road until he finds out the answer, and he actually did. He found out all about his past. His father was a drunk, and every time it rained, he was constantly beating up little Dan, the little boy Dan. And little Yongso always helps him and tried to help him find the light again, to live again. But he was afraid of letting her in, so he closed her out, and she left to Russia, and then he was left alone. And then he also finds out his real name. So Kim Nam's name when he was a human was Yoon Sung Woo. So he finds that out, and pretty much a lot of his past, and he tied into Yongso in the past. That's why he was sent back to pretty much give the mission to help her fall in love again. So in episode 17 to 20 right there, after Dan finding out his name was Yu Sung Woo, he finds out that Yongso is at the same place. She came looking for Yu Sung Woo as well, and he was her first friend, and she suddenly had a dream about him and her childhood memories, so she came looking for him. And she came looking and asking the neighbors about him, and they told them that after she left, the little boy was often beat up by his father, and he jumped into the sea and died. So the dad left with the police, and the dad left before the police can come and arrest him. So Yongso is crying over the fact that, like, you know, the little boy was in trouble, and then she didn't know about it, and now the little boy is gone. And so Dan was there, and Dan saw her crying over the death of Yu Sung Woo, so he decides to hold everything in and don't tell her the truth, that it's him and his past that she is crying about. So this is where Dan uses his second wish. Remember, he has 3 wishes. His first wish, he already used it. This is his second wish. And his second wish is he asked for more time. So his first wish was to tell Yongso to dance again, and then his second wish now is to ask to give her time. And when he figure out things, what is going on, he will return to her, and you know, in doing so, he leaves behind their handkerchief to her to make her think that it is you know, him protecting her. And before, she was always having their handkerchief around her as a way of having Dan around her so that she can be brave to do a lot of other things. So as Dan goes and seek out for answer of why he died at such a young age, he ends up meeting his father in a home care, and he asks his father why his father was so mean to him as a child. Before his father can say anything to him or explain anything, his father just apologized and died. So with Dan seeing this, like, Dan decided to do things on his own and like not listen to somebody who anymore, because whenever Dan asks for an answer for somebody who says that the deity puts answers in front of them, but it's just they can't see it. So therefore, it gives Dan the idea that his answers are in front of him, and he's gonna go with it, and he's not going to listen to somebody who anymore. So he ends up meeting Ji Kang-wook and then Ji Kang-wook tells them that, like, I know you're an angel, but what is your mission? You know. So by this point, Ji Kang-wook had already figured out and had already met somebody who a couple times already, and somebody who had found out that Ji Kang-wook was the fallen angel who, you know, his loved one died in front of him. And Ji Kang-wook also finds out that Dan is an angel. So Dan, this leading like Dan to figure out that like Ji Kang-wook is not Ji Kang-wook is not Young-so's destiny, and he finds out the only reason why Ji Kang-wook is so obsessed with Lee Young-so was his past love looked like her. So everything starts to fall in place for both the guys. They're starting to figure out about each other and everything like that. But so Dan makes the decision that he's going to complete this mission on his own, and he's not gonna have Ji Kang-wook help him. And Ji Kang-wook tells him that you don't know the pain you'll go through, you know. But it's like what Dan says to Ji Kang-wook, I'm not like you, you know. So we get to see that both guys, they're angels, dispatch angel, given missions to do. Now they're falling in love, but the thing is, they both took this falling in love with the human differently from one another. So Dan goes back to Young-so. He confesses his love, and he stays beside her, supporting her, making her happy. And then he waits for the day to tell her the truth that he was a little boy and he's an angel. And so, but he wants her to go through her audition for Giselle first, and if she makes it first before he tells her anything. So she goes for it, and like, you know, she does get the dance, you know, and like, what is it? Nina is so upset and everything like that, you know, because what's the word? Like, Young-so is getting everything, and so with Nina being so upset for it, like the family just continues to create more chaos for Young-so. Like, the aunt is up to something, Luna is up to something, and then at the same time we get Mrs. Jung constantly investigating on her own, finding out a witness to testify that, you know, for Young-so's accident 3 years ago, how she became blind and who was behind it. But you know, Luna ends up having a man kidnap Young-so, and you know, and killing the witness and all stuff like that. And Young-so gets kidnapped, tied to the top of the building, make it look like a suicide so that she vanishes forever and everything like that, you know. So the last like couple episodes for like 20 right there, like to 20 right there, it was just a bunch of their family doing like that. And then we finally get Dan coming to the rescue of Young-so. She was tied to the building on a rainy night, and the guy pushed her, and Dan flies in to rescue her, and his angel wings pops out, and she's just like, what the? So it doesn't end there. We continue on to episode 21 there, that like after rescuing Young-so and she realizing that his wings are real and it was not fake, she ends up fainting, and he takes her home. And then, you know, he pretty much she wakes up and she doesn't remember any of it. So he's kind of like confused, like, how can you not remember it, or are you faking it? So from episode 21 to 24 there, we get to have Luna, we get to see that Luna is having someone working for her to get rid of Young-so. Luna hates Young-so as much as her family, but she is more evil and willingly to do whatever it takes to get rid of Young-so so that her family can be happy, pretty much for Nina. And so we find out that Luna is behind cutting the breaks in the beginning that killed Mr. Joel, and she did many more things. So it was actually not the aunt doing it, it was actually Luna doing it. And then Ji Kang-woo gets the idea that Luna is behind all this, and then but he still believes that the aunt is making the calls because both mother and daughter are evil. So he tests them and finds out that their weakness is Nina. The reason they are doing this, both the aunt and Luna, is because Nina. So everything they do is to hurt and get rid of Yongsol so they can give it all to Nina. So pretty much Ji Kang-woo gets the idea now, and then the aunt finds out that Luna is actually the one who has been killing and trying to get rid of Yongsol, when all the aunt want was pretty much the company, and Luna is the one that is trying to literally get rid of Yongsol for good. So remember how like Yongsol wakes up and her memory is gone. Somebody who messes with her memories, and he stopped he pretty much erased it and create confusions and everything like that, and he believes that by doing all these stuff is to protect Dan, and he called Dan selfish for wanting to help human, and he has to understand that when a human finds out that he's an angel, a lot of things happen to him. So pretty much somebody who was doing all this so that Dan wouldn't get punished and stuff like that. So with Yeonsol's memory being erased, she goes back and trying to retrace what she did that day, and she gained her memory back. Now she remembers seeing Dan with his angel wings, and she confronted him about it, and he didn't deny. She gets upset that he never told her the truth, but she would accept him and trusted him and everything. But the fact that he didn't and he kept it a secret from her, she doesn't want to ever see him again, And so with knowing that Jan is an angel, he also ends up at the church where somebody who was pretty much trying to deceive her, but she sees through it, and she tells him that she's not stupid, and she talks like really disrespectful to somebody who is like, oh, he stayed to himself, like, no wonder Dan calls you the noisy gong and having such a difficult time with you. You're like this, you have no respect for me. And then like she finds out that Dan's mission was to help her find her destiny one, everything like that. She gets upset about it, and she doesn't want to like be put up with anyone. She's gonna make her own destiny and choose to do whatever she wants. And then Dan finally tells Yeonsol the truth after she finds out that he's an angel. He tells her the truth that he was a little boy from her childhood, Yoo Sung-woo, and he made a promise to her as a child that he believes, and then his promise was he wanted to be a grown-up and take care of her, something like that. And so he believes that's the reason why he was sent back to her. So he ends up telling her everything, but he doesn't tell her that he's afraid that he's gonna soon turn into dust and smoke and like vanish, because he's fallen in love with her and he's not allowed to do that. And like it keeps constantly come back to him, which Ji Kang-woo tells him that he must sacrifice his love in order to become a human, and it is painful because once he sacrifices love or when he dies, Yeonsol will be left with nothing. If Yeonsol dies, he'll be left with nothing. So he starts to kind of like be a little afraid of that, and he kind of doesn't tell Yeonsol about that, and that he has like 100 days only and all this stuff like that. So episode 25 to 28 there, Dan wishes to become inhuman and wonders if it's possible. Him and Yeonsol is scared and sad that his time is running out, so she does whatever it takes so that he can stay with her and become human. So she was able to see Ji Kang-woo's handkerchief and was turned into a black feather. She's afraid that that will happen to him. Pretty much Ji Kang-woo pretty much told her the truth and everything like that already, that it's going to be painful because it's not possible. So she doesn't care. She starts spending a lot of times with Dan. They start doing a lot of couple things together, and Dan tells her that he prays every night and writes his report every night of becoming a human. But what he's not telling her is that whenever he writes his report up to heaven and stuff like that, asking to become a human, it gets burned every time he writes asking to become human. So he doesn't tell her that, and he just tells her that don't worry, everything will be fine. I will pretty much become a human. And then meanwhile, we get the stupid aunt's family and everything, as stupid as all they are. She confesses everything she's been doing and going to quit Fantasia, and but before she did that, her husband went and did it already, because they found out that Luna was pretty much doing all these stuff. This spites Luna to get upset and go more up against Youngso, and letting Youngso know that Luna is behind all of this, so it's just dumb and all these stuff like that. And then meanwhile, we get Mr. Jung, who's doing all these investigation and finding tons of things, and it just like continues to lead to the family, so the family now, like pretty much the family didn't do it, it was basically Luna doing all of this, so it was just like now they're stupidly covering for one another. So on the other hand, Yeonso decides to propose to Dan and ask him to marry her, but he doesn't understand why she would want to marry him when his time is limited. And then he gets hurt trying to save a little boy from getting hit by the truck, and his wound did not heal. So Dan and Yoso decided to test it out. When it rains, if his wing will pop out, and it didn't. So they get so happy that he's human now, that he's finally granted to become human. So throughout these episodes of like 25 to 28 there, we get a lot of scenes filled with love between Yoso and Dan and everything, and just when they thought he was human, it was just a test. They don't understand is that like if the handkerchief doesn't turn black, he stays an angel with a little taste of being what it's like to be a human. If it turns black, he pretty much is like Ji Kang-wook. He's human, immortal, not being able to die. So they don't understand any of that at all. And like pretty much Dan kind of like he figures out certain things that happens to him, and it's kind of weird. And knowing that like he was never going to become human, he finds out about Youngso's faith from Sunbae-hoo, that she was supposed to die long ago in the car accident with Mr. Jo. That was her destined to die, but because Dan ended up saving her, her death got postponed, therefore she didn't die, which she is supposed to soon again. So with Dan knowing this, he was going to do whatever it takes with the time he has left to be with Youngso, to give her everything and to protect her. Therefore he marries her. And leading up to the wedding, they find out that it gets harder and harder, and Sunbae-hoo tells them that it is impossible between the two of them, but they don't care. They continue on with the wedding, and Yoso was willing to do whatever it takes to save Dan, vice versa, and everything like that. And they just want to live a happy life together. And like in the process of the wedding and stuff like that, Dan ends up leading up to the wedding, prepping for it, Dan finds out that Luna has some plans and tricks, and that he is ready to she's doing all this to get rid of Yoso now, because her family is pretty much in a difficult situation because they are being investigated now. She ends up going like, I'm not gonna stop, and then so Dan's all like, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you don't hurt Youngso. And then he goes back to Ji Kang-wook and tells Ji Kang-wook that if Dan is gone, for Ji Kang-wook to take care of Youngso and continue to help her doing ballet, which causes Ji Kang-wook to get like kind of confused, like, okay, what's going on? And then we get to the wedding, the day of the wedding. Sunbae-hoo shows up one last time and tells Dan that, you've come this far and you're so capable and you do all these stuff. Do whatever you wish for and go as far as you can. I support you on that. And so the wedding was done beautifully. No one was there. They set it up very beautiful at their house, and it was only Mrs. Jung there with them. And then after saying their marriage vows, they put the vows to the side to exchange ring and everything. Their vows got burned up by the deity, and so it ended up being we get to see that they both know that after the wedding they are not going to have much time together. They are going to challenge pretty much the deity on how much they will live, because they committed sins, and they will do whatever it takes to save one another. So now from episode 29 to 32 right there, to change Yoso's faith, Dan decides to go and try to stop Luna, but he was going to make the decision of killing Luna, but Sunbae who comes in and kills the guy who was working for Luna, because that guy was also there and he helped Luna escape. And so Sunbae who kills him, and Sunbae who vanishes, and he pretty much tells Dan all these stuff that like he tells Dan that you are a lifesaver. You came to this world to be an animal angel, and you save tons of animal. You protect the weak, and you always do your best and to save as many as you can. Even though you have questions, you don't get answer, you still do it. And he tells Dan, you are pretty much a lifesaver. So Dan is selfless. He's not selfish like the rest of them. And then, you know, with Sunbae who disappearing, Dan finds out later at the church that Sunbae who wrote a report back to up there begging for Dan and Yoso to be together and to give Dan the chance to become human. So, you know, Dan feels very bad about this, but he's going to continue on with what the time he has. So at this time he only has a couple days left before his 100-day mission comes to an end, you know. So he finally uses his last wish on Yoso, and his last wish is for Yoso to do the ballet show. She wanted to quit because he only had like 2 days left before his 100-day mission end, but he tells her not to. So, and he was going to be there at her to watch her practice and everything like that. So Yoso practiced hard for the show, and Dan and her gets to spend time together. He goes to her to see her practice and everything like that, and they get to spend a couple of time together before you know, his time comes up and her show is actually happening. So in the meantime, the police knows that Luna is behind everything. She is on a hideout now, and the police is searching for her everywhere. And so at the show, the day of the Giselle show, Nina saw Luna sneaking in as one of the staffs and warns Dan about that Luna is there and she is going to kill Dan, not Youngso. So he asked Nina to keep an eye on Youngso while he finds Luna. And then we get a flashback to the show that Youngso is struggling a little bit the second half of the dance show performance, and she finishes and collapses behind the stage. Dan finds out that Youngso saved Dan from getting stabbed by Luna. Instead, Luna stabbed Youngso, and she was suffering the whole time the second half of the show. She was bleeding a lot, and she was really bleeding while she was on stage when the show was Giselle. Now Giselle was supposed to die on the second half, and they put like fake blood on her outfit. It was actually not fake, it was real. So Youngso was taken to the hospital. She was safe but needed to regain conscious. This is when Dan finds out that she was probably going to die. So Dan gives his last words to Ji Kang-woo to pass on to Youngso that if she wakes up and she can't find Dan, for Ji Kang-woo to tell Youngso that Dan has gone on a very, very long trip and he will miss her, and hopefully he will find a way to return. Meanwhile, we get Luna in jail, and she's a little crazy now because she's like, you know, she did all this to make sure that no one got in the way of her sister Nina and her ballet. And she finds out that because Nina finds out that Luna did all this making for Nina, Nina doesn't want to dance anymore. So she steps down from doing ballet ever again. So pretty much that ends it for the Kim family and everything. And then we go to Yoso at the hospital. Ji Kang-woo realized that Dan's handkerchief never turned black after he vanished, you know. And like Ji Kang-woo is kind of confused, you know, but it gets explained to us that Dan was punished for loving a human, but when he was given the mission to help Yoso find love again, he was able to do that. And the prayers that Sunbae who put up a begging for him to become a human and not punish him, well, Dan pretty much, you know, stopped Luna from killing, and it revealed him, well, pretty much Dan stopped himself from killing Luna, and it revealed that he's not selfish, and prayer has been heard. He helped Yoso fall in love again, which he completed his mission. Therefore, he gets to go to paradise and nothing happens to him. That's why his handkerchief doesn't turn black at all. And so, throughout this whole time, we get to see Youngso having the best dream of living happily ever after with Dan, even though he was still an angel. When she realized that it was her dream and an illusion and she was going to die soon, eventually she doesn't, because Dan tells her that he is given another chance to return to paradise, but he won't. He is willing to give Yoso his last breath and vanish forever while she can wake up from her coma and continue living. So when she wakes up from her coma, his handkerchief turns black and he is gone. So, that just when we think that is the end of it for him, we get to see 3 months later, the court decides Luna gets a life sentence in jail. Her mother receives 17 years. Her father receives 5 years. And then Yoso becomes the chairwoman of Fantasia. She starts training to dance again because she went through some more, injury and everything like that. And then it drives Mrs. Jung crazy trying to treat her because she keeps talking like Dan is still there for her and she's still waiting for him. And so it drives Mrs. Jung crazy, and she ends up giving Yoso a box that Dan left behind. He made tons of anniversary cards for Youngso, 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, and all this stuff like that, etc. And Mrs. Jung begs also that Dan is gone, and that's the reason why he left all those things behind to give to her so that she can continue living on and stuff like that. So she needs to get treatment and forget about Dan. She does get treatment and forget about him, and when we think she is doing fine, we see that she's still talking to herself, and we actually see that Dan is actually standing there listening to her. It's just nobody can see him. So it was his last wish to the deity that he was not going to go to paradise. He was going to give his last breath to Yoso, and he was going to keep staying around her. He was not going to go. It doesn't matter if he's going to continue to roam around her and nobody sees him, he was gonna stick to it. So as he continues to roam around her, we see that he has another handkerchief in his pocket, and it is blue, And Yoso goes back to the bench where they first officially met, and she catches a falling leaf because he told her that that's how he used to get his missions, and there's nothing written on there. And so she wrote a little mission on there that today, right here, that she will see him. And before she knows it, she can see him sitting next to him, and she thinks she's hallucinating, but she's not. She reaches out and touches his heart, and it was beating, and the handkerchief on his pocket disappeared. So Dan was granted to become a human, and he finally understood that everything the deity does, even though he doesn't agree with it, things happens for its own reason. Dan was not selfish. He was a selfless angel pretty much all along, and even though he was granted to go to paradise, he chose not to. He chose to stay and suffer the pain like Youngso with her, and when they can't be together and stuff like that. So you pretty much get to see that their true love for one another and willingly to take sacrifices for each other granted them to be together. So it ended with Dan being human, and they meet again after 3 months, and they get to be together now. So that is it for Angel's Last Mission, Love. It ended with that, and I understand the ending was kind of rushed, and a lot of fans weren't happy about it, but to me it's whatever, they got to be together. That's all that matters. Nobody died, everything turns out good, And it kind of reminds me of Abyss when Chaming was gone. He was still floating around Go Seiyun, because the Abyss is not just an orb to revive people. It is to grant Chaming's biggest wish, and Chaming's biggest wish was to pretty much marry Go Seiyun and have a family and stuff like that. That's why it kept him around. And it's the same thing with Dan. He was sent to be an angel of animals. He does tons of selfless things, and he became pretty much a lifesaver, and he was taken at a young age, kind of by mistake, and like he deserved to get his life back. That's why he was granted that. So that is it for Angel's Last Mission Love. I did blabber a lot, but I tried to go on with the most recap with the most main point for the drama rather than just giving you guys everything. I really enjoyed this drama. It was really good, and I was really shocked of L being able to play such a character like this. Like, I've seen him in his other dramas before, and he hasn't really been able to like play such characters like this, you know. But with him being the main role and being able to play like this, and like having Shin Hye Sun playing such a good character with him too, that the two of them got along on screen and behind screen. That's why to me it turned out so well for the drama, because their chemistry of getting to know each other, they were playful and they had fun. That's why they played Kim Dan and Eon so really well. But that is it, and I hope to see more projects from them in the different projects they do, and hopefully they do another drama together, or I don't know what happens in the future or what other dramas they're gonna play. But that is another drama down for me on my list. My list is getting shorter and shorter, so hopefully there's more coming soon. But that is it for this drama review, and I will see you guys next time.